to my Intro to Calligraphy class. I am Savannah and I am so excited to be working with you today. First I'll run through the materials that I have. I'll be showing you a lot of brush strokes with this Tombow pen. This is a soft tip. It's available on Amazon, is usually where I get them from. They are about, let's see, I want to say like $3 a piece. Not too shabby. The next pen I'll show you is one that I even use like from day to day or taking notes when I just want a really fine tipped pen. It's the brand Lei pen, L-E pen, and it's Marvi Japan is what the rest of it says there. And these are super handy, just a go-to for me. And I'll also show you a little bit of chalk lettering today I've planned. This is a Bistro chalk marker. I get them from Amazon, but they're also available in lots of fun colors at Michael's too. I've got some good quality paper here. This one is definitely a splurge, but it's a Monarch writing pad from Rifle Paper Co. I think I got it somewhere locally, but they're also available online. And this is just some watercolor paper from Michael's as well. Just good for practicing. You don't want to use the brush pens on anything other than good quality printer paper or some just better quality paper. It really wrecks the brush, unfortunately, and you'll see a lot less of life in your pen unless you use nicer paper, which is kind of a bummer, but for practicing and for fun projects, they're really good. I'm just going to run through the alphabet. My alphabet changes from time to time, and that's okay. You can copy some letters that I do, you can do none of them, tweak them, whatever you feel like doing. While I run through this, I'll tell you a little bit about how I got into lettering. In college, I would always try to take notes during class. I'm definitely a note taker. And it was always fun to do just different fonts, help me remember things better. And as time went on, I decided I wanted to just make it a little bit more artistic as I went along. But I learned a lot from just like YouTube videos, honestly, a lot of things on Pinterest that I would see and just try to copy. I follow lots of other calligraphers on Instagram, and sometimes I'll say, oh shoot, like I really like the way she did that letter, like I'm just gonna integrate that into my alphabet. And it's just a super fun thing that's always changing. And you can make your own. And I'm forgetting the alphabet as I go. Nice. For instance, like my Q, how often do you write a Q in a sentence? But that one changes just depending on, oh goodness, like what other letters in the word there are and stuff like that. I'll try to touch on some connecting of letters as we go on too. V always changes for me too. Now I'm doing these with the Lei pen to start, but I will show you a little bit more on how brush strokes work. Usually on a downstroke, you'll bring more pressure onto the pen. It doesn't work with this one because it's a fine tip, but I'm just trying to show you the idea of like on the downstrokes, it'll be a little bit thicker if you give it more pressure, and on the upstrokes, lighten up. It also works this way with like actual like quill kind of calligraphy pens and stuff like that, which I am still practicing. So hopefully I will have the practice sheets linked up for your practicing pleasure, and just make sure, if at all possible, to print on some high quality printer paper. I got some off of Amazon that I just checked reviews for and tried to find ones that other calligraphers had gotten. I think I ended up with some HP paper that I will link to this video. So I'm just showing you a little bit more about just the different densities of the strokes. And you can like rewind and pause and go back and forth as much as need be. And I'll try to run through the capitals too in this video. My capitals change about every time I do them. There are a few that remain the same, but sometimes I'll even just make a small letter a little bit taller than the rest of the word, and that's how I'll just make that good enough. But you can find lots of examples of my past work, or just look on Pinterest if you want to tweak a letter. Like maybe one of the letters that I'm not as thrilled with, like I will go online and find a couple different options and just try to make a smaller letter a little bit more curly or tall or whatever, just to dress it up a little bit. Almost done here with my lowercase. I'll point out some of just the symmetry too as you go through. I've tried really hard to make my upstrokes very uniform at the bottom as I flick up to the rest of the letter. For example, you'll see I kind of tried to make this dip the same in just about every one that I can. Sometimes it's a little bit sharper and tighter of a dip. Also, I tried to keep symmetry on the B, D, F, for example, and also even on the bottom as you look with the Y and Z. Try to keep your Y just almost like an upside down H, so that's pretty easy. There's a lot of repetition that you get to go through. So here we go with some of my capitals. And if you're doing like a project for someone and their name starts with one of these, like you can make it a little bit curlier or a little bit more dramatic here or there, like rubbing my brain around this. Oh, see, I just did it backwards, whoops. I was trying to do just my C, but instead I'll do, let's see, not quite like that. I was going for something more like that, so maybe ignore that guy. But a lot of these change just depending on the style and genre that I'm working with. And that's okay. It's really fun to look at old projects that I did like forever ago to see how my alphabet has just, oh, see, goodness, I don't know what it is. Let's see. There we go. Like my J changes pretty much every time I do it. That one I've been happy with lately. My L is inspired by LaCroix, which I basically have attached to me with a drip during the summer. I love LaCroix, it's super good. Oh. Q, R. Especially when maybe you've got a project that you're doing that's just one letter. That's definitely like a fun opportunity to just dress it up and give it some more curls. I'll try to give you an idea of some more curl options when I pick up the brush pen. Gosh, how often does someone do a capital X? Probably not very often unless it's for someone's last name. right. Oh, that's pretty good. Only one mistake. I'm not thrilled with my J, but that's okay. We'll just roll with it. Just for fun, this is one thing that I like to do, especially with this pen. Just kind of almost skip the inside. We'll attach some more detailed pictures. But it's like, just if I had used the brush pen but then gone in with some white out afterwards and just taken out the middle parts just for fun. Just to show you a different style. I'll do this one a lot when I don't have a brush pen and I only have access to a like ballpoint pen or even just a pencil. But you kind of get the idea that it's just what it would be with this, but just the middle missing. All right. As we are wrapping up, I'd love to move on to just some more connecting of letters. Most every letter I have will be connected by just this little dip up that I showed you a little bit earlier, just with a little tight curve, but I'll show you that in action a little bit more. Not bad, not bad. All right, so here is my alphabet. I'm going to flip to the next page. I'll take a good picture of this with my phone and make sure to add it so that you can refer back to it. Okay, so let me show you some just brush strokes of these letters. I'll just do, let's just do like a little quote just for fun. I'll go through this a little bit slower one by one so you kind of get an idea. Again, this is just a Tombow brush pen. And definitely would recommend practicing with this a little bit more before you just jump right into it. Takes a little bit of a learning curve just to get used to the pressure, and if you get maybe a different brand that's a little bit tougher and requires more pressure, then that would take getting used to too. I always try to take it slow when I'm starting off with a new pen or one that I'm not as familiar with. So this is a quote that I have on my letterboard right now. It's just inspires me to drink more coffee, basically, because I'm like, grind the coffee beans. There we go. Everything's related to coffee in the morning. But I started off with your basic capital R, and again, it changes from time to time. Sometimes I'll cut that out. Sometimes I'll just do a little kick like that. Doesn't really matter, whatever you feel your heart's desire is, no big deal. And here's my little lowercase r. Also changes from time to time. This is where I had it, I don't know, a month or two ago, and I saw this one online and I was like, oh, I like that. I'm gonna try that for a little while, because sometimes getting this little curve in is a little bit of a challenge. I'll do that one more time just so you can see it. A little bit of pressure there just for a little bit of differentiation. And then I always try to exit with a little bit of a divot just to give it a little bit more dimension. And you can always touch it up and give it a little bit more boldness if need be. So we've got R here. I think I did my I backwards in the last page. This is what it usually looks like, my capital I. I think I did it like the other way. I don't know why. Just bear with me. Here's my other I, lowercase. Typically that's where my eye about is. This also looks like just a stretched out E. Wherever your heart takes you, just go for it. There's an S. They pretty typically look the same. For a little while I was looping the top, and then someone told me that it looks kind of like an L with like a little loop, so I just went and undid that little extra swoop right there. And then E, capital E, is just basically like a backwards 3. That one will change pretty often too. Beforehand I would do maybe like a little bit of a swoop. Again, super fun, just dress it up however you like. No big deal. So there's a rise. My and sign just depends on what I'm feeling. This is pretty typical. And then G. Basically the same as my lowercase g, but usually I'll make this swoop go a little lower. The R's, again the same. I's, again the same. N. And another N. See, pretty much mirror image there. And capital D. This one I kind of struggle with the brush pen, because I don't want it to be too bulky necessarily right here, so maybe just medium pressure on those. All right, so now on to connecting them. If you look a little bit more closely, you can see that I pretty much completely disconnect the lowercase r from the lowercase I. The swoop from here, I pretty much try to keep them all the same. If you would like, one tip that if you're just worried about your exit not being high enough or something, just, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to bump that. Maybe just do something like this. So we're just gonna do I to the N here. I, keep it low, then right next to it, do your N, and then just connect them after. So low swoop, and then come in and connect them. All right. The E, the S to E is pretty spot on there, but let me go over that one more time for you to see as well. If you're not super confident in it, and also this, oh gosh, that connection is kind of difficult. You'll have to practice that one a little bit. Just keep it low, and then you can connect it afterwards. I'll show you one more time. All right, so kind of a low angle. If you want them to line up, see this lined up pretty much perfectly. Not to toot my own horn, but I've had a lot of practice. You'll get there too. Just unconnect, leave it unconnected and then connect it afterwards. No shame in that. You will get to perfection with practice. All right, so I'll do the whole word all together in just lowercase, and then I'll do with the uppercase R, just so you can see it again. See, I completely disconnected there. And I didn't even pick up my pen to switch from S to E. That'll be how you can get a nice smooth transition. Here I did the E pretty much half and half. The swoop starts from about the midpoint of there. I like to make it a little bit smaller, but again, it's personal preference. So there's a rise. You pretty much have to disconnect for starting here. Rise again. And with the capital G again. All right, so there we have it. I'm gonna flip to the next page and show you just some different stroke pressure and how that affects your letters. A lot of practice sheets I've seen online just show swirls and like zigzags for the sake of practicing just different pressure techniques. I think this is a really great idea to get the hang of just having the natural flow of one letter to another. So a nice light upstroke, more pressure on the down. This kind of looks like a backwards S or I don't know, part of an A maybe, a capital A. So just try that light up, heavier pressure on the down. This will give you some good practice for doing those S's because it's really hard to transfer from light to heavy smoothly. As you can see, I shook there and messed it up a little bit. You can even try it backwards, like light, heavy. Both of these are super good. And you can just carry it all the way across your page if you like. I would almost recommend not doing this with a rifle paper company notebook because they are not cheap. Maybe do this with some printer paper. But for you guys, I will sacrifice my pretty paper. All right, just some straighter zigzags. That's a really good shape to practice there too. I will try to get a practice sheet out of just like zigzags that you can trace and then practice all the way across the line. Here's just some nice tighter swirls, I guess. And carry that all the way down. That's really good for practicing your O's. What's another one here? Maybe just doing it the other way around. I would recommend just writing out a sentence as you go, and that will show you what strokes you're weak on for sure. Clearly I'm weak on that one because I messed up right there. Alright, so those are some strokes for you to try to practice at home. Now I'm going to pull out some chalk pens and we're going to decorate this little guy here. I got a whole big sheet of just this chalkboard MDF. I don't know what that stands for, but that's what they call it, so that's what I call it. It was 2 feet by 4 feet. They carry it at Home Depot, and the whole sheet itself was $10, and I cut it down to a smaller size. And it has some travel wear, apparently. Anyways, I'm just gonna do, let's see, how about, we'll just do the same quote again, but I'll make it a little swirlier for you. Again, these are awesome chalk pens. I would really recommend them. However, what I would not recommend is leaving the message on for super long because it is hard to rub off sometimes. What my friend recommended to me was using magic erasers. You can get them at Target or Amazon. I got like a pack of them. They were maybe like $2 each or something, and those cleaned off like stains that I couldn't get that were like baked on. The other thing I use is just Clorox wipes. So I've got a nice broad marker that I like to use. It also comes in like a more medium tip where you can get a small one or you can get a really chunky one. they are all useful for different things. This is my favorite size pretty much because it can do the thinner and the thicker. Another typical thing that I do a lot is just mix my fonts. The shorter length here, I just compromised by bringing my swoop out a little bit wider than I normally may. I have a little bit more room. Just kind of make it work with what you got. Really know how to draw coffee beans, but I'm going to try and pretend just for fun. I'll let this dry before I try to put more over on that side. Does anybody else have that problem? Just accidentally smearing everything that you just wrote? It's the worst. Again, just building up my downstrokes here. And sometimes if my marker is dying a little bit more, I'll just give it a little extra pop over the less bright spots. All right. Draw a little mug over here. I might just ruin the whole thing, but it's okay. We're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna have grace for one another because I can't draw, but I can letter, and practice makes perfect, right? Here's my little mug. I'm gonna put a little sun on it, because why not? Rise and grind, people. All right, there's my little decorations. Made sure I bolded the sides. Sometimes I'll come in and bold just my little caps. Again, don't stick my hand on what I've done. Be counterproductive here. I'll do a practice sheet of what my little bolded caps look like too. They're super fun, and you can make them uneven if it's like a silly quote or something like that. That's always fun. My marker is not cooperating with me. Sorry, hopefully my head's not in the shot. Ugh. All right, rise and grind. There we go. Thanks so much for watching this video. Hopefully you learned a lot, and I look forward to our next chat.